so much, Andrew Doyle, of the rising unemployment we've seen as a consequence of the collapse of the construction industry. We saw it there with Banagher Concrete, but in towns across the country, particularly young men who are working on building projects have been laid off, and they see very little future for themselves.
No, that's true. That is true. Of the 300,000 that have been added to the live register since 2007, probably 2/3 of that figure is either directly or indirectly related to the construction industry, which did get out of hand, and probably some of the jobs that were created in the first place were a mirage. They didn't exist in real terms. I think if you go back to where we were before that, this country is estimated as 54 local economies. It's not one economy that depends, and in all of those economies we have small and large towns, we have small and medium business, 80,000 of them, and I think we have to go back to that, to try every job counts motto or philosophy. So we support the small business, we support the rural community.
They have huge problems, particularly in the banking area, getting access to credit.
The areas that really affect them are bureaucracy and red tape, support and mentoring, and credit. Those are the areas that affect them the most. They're the areas where you have to concentrate on. And if we do that as a principle, for all small and medium businesses, and decimate that down through the communities, if everyone created one job, it's
Andrew, there are also significant disagreements between your two parties, and if you find yourself in government, are we going to end up with a kind of paralysis when nothing happens because you can't overcome these differences?
I mean, I don't agree with that. I think inevitably when the figures are going to be added up at the end of this general election, a government will be formed, a programme from government will be worked out. It always has been, and some of the most stable governments have been. One that was formed without an election in 1994, and people said it would never work, and it has proven to be one of the most sensible and steady governments and effective governments in recent history. So I don't think you can, and I was amused last night to see, and I'm not here to get into a political slagging match, but I was amused to see,
very disappointed. This is
well, people out there are telling me, the ordinary people, will you stop? We did 1,000 doors this weekend in my own hometown, and everybody says that's the sort of politics we don't want to see anymore. We want somebody who's going to tell us how they're going to get on with it and get people working. But
all right, Andrew, I mean, of course, the Fine Gael government had a member of the government who was not an elected TD. Jim Doogue was a senator, but he did have to be a member of the Oireachtas.
Well, at that time, Gareth Fitzgerald nominated him as a member of the Seanad in order to bring him into the cabinet, and I think it proved to be a very effective way. Look, I think at this stage, Fine Gael set out their style about political reform back some months ago. All parties, or all the main parties at this stage, have indicated, and Mark's party, we only heard it this morning, are indicating the same. So other people who are veterans at this have been listening to Doyle reform for the last 15 years.
Time.
So let's see an all-party committee, if that's the genuine belief. Before a constitution, we need a constitution day. We need a constitutional referendum to enact some of the proposals. So
Andy Kenny, to come to what he's been saying today, has been talking about banning corporate donations. This is after Fine Gael has raised tens of thousands in corporate donations. In case of take the money and run.
Well, I think the figure that was stated was 50,000. I just heard it in the clip. I mean, the biggest single fundraising effort that Fine Gael make every year is an €80 per head super draw, which brings in the vast bulk of the money.
50,000?
No, that's not the €80 super draw.
These were corporate donations.
That's not the €80 brings in the vast amount of fundraising that Fine Gael do in a year. It's probably near to $1 million a year, whatever it is, and that's the American style. If you look at Barack Obama's campaign, it was based on the $5 and the $10 and the $20, and it proved that it worked to give everybody.
What is we got that?
That Fianna Fáil are interested in engagement. But can I say, David Stanton, my colleague, has spent years, frustrating years, trying to advocate true and proper Doyle reform, and it has fallen on deaf ears. And now, when people are shouting out for it at last, we see a real, genuine, concerted effort by everybody.
John, we'll have to have people who want to go in, Andrew Doyle and Mark McShire. Thank you all indeed for joining us. We'll take a break there, but in a couple of minutes, how you can